Hello, Natascha Demner. Welcome to Be Better with Triple G. How are you?
Hi, Triple G. I'm very well. I'm very happy to be here with you.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to invite you on this little show is because the two of us, during the insane pandemic year that has still kind of continuing, both discovered we had different health challenges. Yours was a breast cancer diagnosis in February 2020, which resulted in a double mastectomy and several months of chemo. And mine was this crazy long haul COVID journey that I've been on. And the thing that feels very obvious to me is that we're both coming from a place of weirdly feeling like we had to go through this so that we could share something of the journey for others and help others who are in health crisis come to terms with their recovery in a different way and approach their healing in a completely different way. And you're an experienced wellness coach, and I'd love you to share something of your journey, what you've gone through, and how you now help people who are going through their own health recovery processes.
So yeah, it was definitely a journey. And I think after the first shock, with my cancer diagnosis, after the first shock of the first months, when you're thinking, what will be, how, this just coming to terms was, for me personally, the scariest part. And then as soon as treatment started and I went through my, operation, I kind of just started to deal with what is, and just doing my best, every day, like just trying to take what is, because there was no way to change it, right? And just really make it my best and focus on the deep healing and hearing the messages as well, why is this happening, to me now, where I think I'm so, I've been going the years leading up to this diagnosis, I've really worked on my own health and I come from a history of autoimmune disease. So over the years, I've gradually changed my lifestyle and become more and more aware of how to best take care of myself. So when this diagnosis came, I thought that I'm really the healthiest I've been in years. I've been studying to be a functional medicine health coach. And so I really dove into functional medicine deeply. And I went to the gym every day and, did yoga and spent a lot of time outside, and there came this diagnosis. So I tried to understand, what is my body trying to tell me? Where did this come from? And I personally believe, while there is a genetic aspect for sure, that, there's a lot of different things that come into place. And so that has been a really interesting journey and also a rewarding, one.
It's interesting you say rewarding, because it's only now I'm coming through the shock of so many different symptoms firing at different times, and the fear that comes about when you're trying to put your attention on each thing that's going on and going, why is that happening? What does that mean? Am I going to die? Are my children going to have no mother? All of the fearful things that can happen. Getting back in touch with deep breath work and you mentioned yoga, very, very slow, gentle yin yoga practice. I almost feel like it's an opportunity to feel better than I did before I had COVID. And I look at you now, and you've always been beautiful, but I know that you've gone through such a transformative process, but a lot of that has to have been what you've done energetically, where you've put your mental attention and energy.
Yes, I early on, I think I consciously chose not to be overwhelmed by the fear. Like I constantly made that decision to choose the light. And I understand that not everyone has that choice, because it always depends on how we've been conditioned, you know, in the past, and the, you know, the things we tell ourselves. And it may not feel like you have the choice, but the choice, it's always there. You know, we do have the capacity of to make decisions, you know. And so I was able to make this choice, which is probably part of my makeup and who I am, allowed me, you know, for some reason I was lucky that I was able to make this choice. And this is something that I really like to help people do as well, to overcome those, you know, that self-talk and the, you know, the fear, and make the choice to turn what you have into the most you can make it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, something you said to me that struck like lightning in my heart was when you said you almost felt like this was a privilege to have to learn how to recover and with grace, and be responsible for a whole body reevaluation, and to stay with the light, as you say, was a privilege. And I feel every time that I was afraid and I added fear to what was already a difficult process, my symptoms exacerbated. They flared up instantly. It was almost like my cells were going, see, you start getting afraid about things you can't control, and look how horrible it can feel. Bam, bam, bam. Yeah. But as soon as I stopped, as you're saying, and surrendered to what I couldn't control, I had these symptoms, I have this disorder, no one really knows what's going on. Medical doctors, as with cancer, there's certain things they can help you with, and there's certain things they just can't. We're holistic beings. Our organs are all connected at some fundamental level. And as soon as I allowed myself to just be given over, and to remember that I'm a living, breathing organism in a culture of light or unified field of energy that's beyond this body. I'm floating in some sense, floating in water, but it just happens to be space, and allowed that environment to be felt and breathed and become part of my healing process. It was like a radical shift. And I started noticing a very benign process occurring that sensitized me in a way that feels like a privilege and not a curse.
And that's empowering, isn't it? Like you feel like, although there's, you know, there's not much you can, you know, like there is, you have power to change your experience, you know. And I think by changing your experience and by changing your mental state and your view of it, you can either make it into something negative, or into something, you know, into an uplifting experience, or an experience that will, when you look back at it, because when you're in it, you know, let's be honest, it's not always, you know, that way, but just looking back at it, you feel uplifted, and you feel you're able to look at it and see the nuggets, you know, and see how it's been helpful for your evolution, you know, and how it's taught you to take better care of yourself, you know. And
yeah, I mean, you work a lot with women, don't you? Because women tend to put their own well-being on the back burner often. Children, yes. Work, even if you're not a parent, just the pressure to, you know, make money, you know, play things out in the world. It's very hard for us sometimes to actually spend me time on self-care. So always thinking of others and feeling guilty if we're not always doing things for others. So a lot of your work is with women.
For sure. Yes. A lot of my work is with women, and absolutely, you know, women, it's very difficult for women to to create that space for themselves. So I'm very passionate about helping women do that, and also helping them to put them in touch with their intuition, so they know what they need, because so often we hear what we're supposed to, you're supposed to be this, you're supposed to look like this, you're supposed to be skinny, you're supposed to be fit, you're supposed to be, well, how do you feel? Like, how do you want to be? What do you need? What do you need now? Maybe 5 years ago, I had 5 kilos less, and I really, I like myself a little skinny. I like myself that way, but I've always also been conditioned to look that way. And now I have a few kilos more. I feel like, well, maybe I need that now. I need the extra weight to be healthier. We're not, as women, I think we often look at ourselves from the outside, rather than really looking at the inside and going from the inside out.
So what do you actually do with your clients, Natascha? So obviously you deal with people who've had chronic illness. I'm quite passionate, obviously, about long COVID survivors, because there's no medical recourse, really. It's still a guinea pig experiment in process, and there's a lot of fear. And I find that I just can't keep up with the number of people who are so desperate, so afraid. Their symptoms are all so crazy. I've had crazy symptoms. And it's like, well, if they can't get the answers from a doctor, and all of us have had tests, we all get our lungs checked and our MRIs of our brains to check for clots. But what practical things what do you do to help people who are really afraid, and they're living with this illness that can become chronic after a year? They don't know what to do. And, it's like walking people off the ledge often, because then it becomes mental anxiety.
Yes.
On top of very, very severe physical symptoms.
Yeah. So obviously, as a health coach, I don't diagnose or prescribe or treat any disease. What I do is, it's a very client-centered process. And the main thing I do is listen and help to guide and educate and really meet the person where they're at, and then we're also different, we're all bio individuals, every single person needs a different thing. And especially for something like long COVID, everyone has different symptoms, it's not a one size fits all. There's so many different symptoms. So I really start by listening deeply, and then creating space, and really I try to help the person really deeply get in touch with their own intuition, and find out what they need, help them to find out what they personally need. And then we bring in the modifiable lifestyle factors, which are nutrition and hydration. They are your relationships. They are sleep and relaxation. You can eat the best diet and take all the supplements in the world. If you can't sleep, you can't heal. They are stress reduction and breath work, meditation. And that might not be for everyone. There's so many different modalities, strengthening the vagus nerve, heart rate variability. This is scientific stuff that works, So we, by listening, I figure out where that person can start. And it's small steps, you don't start out doing it all. You make small changes, and there's small, measurable, achievable changes that you make, small little steps. And then you build, and you it's like almost like Legos, like you build on step by step, and you create a framework for yourself, a structure that will make you feel more empowered and more kind of revive your trust in taking, and that you know best how to take care of yourself. And even if you are in treatment, you know, and thank God we have these treatments, thank God we have chemotherapy, thank God we have antibiotics, but the doctors don't know it all. You know, you need to be able to advocate for yourself, and you need to know what you feel like inside and how you want to feel like, and get in touch with that instinct to best support yourself.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, everything you've just said is it's like absolutely the picture of my process. I feel like when I wasn't listening to my intuition because I was so afraid, because I was so confused, and I felt abandoned by the medical establishment because there was no help at the time when I contracted COVID. On the one hand, you're right, the medical establishment's so important for particular things. So it was very good to have chest x-rays and eliminate, oh, okay, I haven't damaged my lungs. Okay, my brain MRI says I have no clots. So that was able, there was a definite stress reduction that went about, and a paracetamol take away a headache. There were things that I could do. But what I really noticed, and it speaks to everything you've just said, because it's baby steps, is that the real healing process began when I changed my action. And it was the change of action that was the cure. Not one particular thing, slow steps working in conjunction, coming from a place of listening to my body, say, you need to stretch. You need to move some energy in your body. So I would go and Google Qigong or Tai Chi and look up lung exercises and find someone that spoke to me. With yoga, find a yogic practice that was soft, nurturing for recovery, specifically for recovery. Because my tendency is to go all out, like you said, all at once. Okay, someone told me to do this, so I used to get all the supplements everyone had recommended to me, to the point that I think I'd overblown my system with supplements. I mean, really. So, you know, it's about carefully.
There's so much information out there, you know, so to filter it out, that's what I help my clients to filter out, you know, all the noise, because there are so many things you could be doing, and it's so easy to feel inadequate and like you're not doing enough, or you're not doing the right things. So just to filter out some of that noise and bring it back to, you know, this might work for that person, but what's going to work for you? You know, what do you need now? Where are your priorities? What is most difficult for you right now, and what will nurture you the most? You know, like, what do you need now to truly deeply nurture yourself? And we know all this stuff, you know, when we cut through the fear and we don't let that control everything, we know deep down what we need.
That is so true. It's almost like you're curating a bespoke treatment plan. It's like you're the treatment plan person that says, actually, you could benefit from speaking to a naturopath. They might help guide you in terms of what supplements might benefit you. You need to look at your relationship. It's causing you stress. How can you nurture that relationship? I couldn't agree more. And this is a revolution that's going on in the world right now, I believe, where we have all got lazy. We want one pill to fix all. We all want to just be given the easy route. Here's a pill, pop it, you'll feel better. The problem is that our lifestyles are not healthy. We're addicted to our phones. We're driven by stress. The world is contaminated. The earth is sick, and we've stopped listening to nature. And one of the beautiful symbiotic processes that has helped me heal is get back in touch with bare feet on the ground, sunlight kissing my naked body, feeling the breeze on my skin caressing me, as the natives did, as the tribal cultures did. They allowed nature to be part of their healing process. you know, listening to the sounds of nature. You talked about the noise, and I feel that sound vibrations are so jarring now, especially if you're in a city or something and it's just honking and blaring and barking and noise. And so it's so important to have those people in our lives, people like yourself, where you can bounce off them. I spoke to a naturopath that was extraordinary in my process, and some amazing qigong healers in Australia, and all they did was activate what I already knew. But what they were doing was working with my structure, my symptoms, my tendencies, my tendency to be a multitasking whirlwind go-getter, to slow the fuck down.
Yeah.
And you know, it's so important. And there are so many people out there right now who are lost. They are discombobulated. They are absolutely terrified because they don't know what to do. And the anxiety that's being added on top of an already difficult process is causing mental health issues that are also debilitating. So, you know, I mean, Natascha, it would be wonderful if, with your permission, I can share your details at the end of this call, and maybe if there are particular questions people have for you as a autoimmune warrior and breast cancer survivor, that we could do this again, where we just actually talk to people's present time fears. Obviously, putting it out there to everybody, we are not medical doctors. You should always consult your medical doctor when you're beginning any treatment. We're not here to recommend treatments. We're here to speak to our own personal experience of our own dis-eases in the space-time continuum. But so how did you deal with the mental health issue of having children and a husband and a life, and you're a yoga teacher and you're a functional medical health coach? How did you deal with those moments of abject fear, insomnia, you know, the what ifs?
I don't know. I just I feel like I really just held on to the light. Like I really looked at, you know, towards the light. And it's interesting that you're mentioning nature, because I'm, you know, I moved out of New York City. I lived in New York City for many years. I moved out of New York City 2.5 years ago. I'm in a very rural area on a hill. And I have a vegetable garden and now baby chicks as well. So the nature has been definitely the place where I was able to draw that energy I needed. And even when I was, you know, when I came back from chemo and I could hardly stand up, I would go to my vegetable garden and just do like the little bit of weeding or get my hands into the soil. And that was very, very healing for me. So I feel, you know, that the mental health, and, you know, I was in the middle of COVID, so there was a lot of anxiety around me. I really sort of focused on my story, and I tried not to listen too much to the radio. I didn't watch any television. I really tried to stay in my own space and focus on what I can do, like the small steps I can take day to day to make myself get through it, you know. And my community was extremely helpful, my family and friends. There's a huge power in community, and I reached out. You know, I created a WhatsApp group when I was first diagnosed with all my friends on it, because people would call me, and the worst feeling for me was when others worried about me, because when others worry, I have a natural tendency of then taking care of them, you know, and I didn't have the energy to take care of anyone. So I just put all the information out there into this group, and people would respond and reach out and send shitloads of emojis, and that really is powerful, you know, to know that that you're being held by your community. So I reaching out, consciously reaching out and saying, okay, this is what I'm going through, was very helpful to me. So I didn't get too caught in my own head. So sharing it with others.
I had a vision when you were just talking of putting the oxygen mask on yourself on a plane before you can assist others.
Yeah.
Again, as women, as mothers, as women who care about their communities, their friends, always want to take care of everyone. It's very hard to think like that, to think that you should put that oxygen mask on yourself first, that you should be allowed to take the time to spend on yourself. There's a tendency to think, no, I've got to get through this very, very quickly. I'm going to be done with this in a few days, and then everything's going to be back to normal, and I can continue being there for everyone. Having people pity you is such a phenomenally difficult thing to conduct, and I can feel that you and I are very similar in that respect. I found it so difficult. So I did the same thing. I did it on Facebook, put it out there. I am fucked. I have this weird, once long COVID, had been diagnosed as a thing. I have been sick now for, however long. And then I just thought I was going to get better. I just thought that next month or next week or tomorrow I will get up and feel better. And it just went on and on and on. And then there was the big retreat process, as you did, because you obviously had to go through very serious chemo. It was retreating from the world while giving regular updates and not feeling guilty about not responding to texts in the moment that they're sent to me, not feeling guilty about not responding to emails in the moment they're sent to me, having space to be vulnerable and actually being publicly vulnerable and being available to receive, because it's so easy to give for certain people, of which we're natural nurturers, Nata, but receiving other people's care, advice, offers of support at times felt overwhelming to me. And that was a very difficult challenge for me. And that was one of my processes I had to get over to be able to start really healing, was to go, actually, yes, I would love some body work. You're offering to get me some body work and you've found someone who's amazing. I'm here. Yes, I'll receive those supplements through the mail. Yes, I'll take your raw honey gift. Yes. Suddenly not being the one that felt I had to keep giving something back in kind in the moment to justify receiving the overwhelm of love and support.
Yes.
But there are people out there who are in difficult relationships while they go through their health challenges. They are financially restrained. They have young children, maybe difficult marriages. So, what advice can you give to people who are not in nature, in less fortunate circumstances, haven't got a background in good nutrition, good exercise regimes, appreciating what meditation is, completely coming from a place of none of that, and maybe a history of, prior conditions that are also diabetic, gnarly? How can we help those people?
About reaching out to your community, I would encourage everyone to reach out, because what comes back is, the people that took care of me the most in this time weren't the people that I'm the closest to in my everyday, apart from, my husband. But people came out from my past, out of the woodworks, a friend from high school who wasn't even my closest friend, but is very close friends with another friend. She's in Australia. She's a poet and a psychologist. She would leave me these long messages every week before my chemo. She would check in with me, there was just energy comes. I feel like when you open your heart, this energy comes. And even if you are in a city apartment and you don't have a lot of access to nature, you can't see my space, but my house is filled with plants, in the house, which just taking care of those plant babies, it's really healing for me, you know, in the winter when I can't get outside. Going to the park and taking off your shoes, you know, even if it's a city park, it's these small things, you know, they make a difference. Small things. You don't have to do it all, you know, you don't have to do it all, you don't have to be it all, and it's going to be difficult, and it's important to honor also that it's difficult. It's that's the nature, you know, of these challenges. But these small things like getting out into the fresh air, moving your body, you know, making the you know, you were mentioning qigong, making the qi circulate, the energy circulate in your system, you know, breathing. Like these are all things that are free and they're accessible for everyone, to make a little bit of space for yourself, you know, and implementing however many of these things that you can find time for or space for. Every little bit helps.
And not telling yourself that all the reasons I can't. I remember saying, I'm overwhelmed, I've got to homeschool the kids, I've got to walk the dog, I'm running a household, I'm running a business, I can't be ill, oh my God. So there was this massive resistance to being sick, to being diseased. But the moment that I went, hang on, look at all the other times in your life you have felt absolutely discombobulated, diseased, confused, incarcerated, whatever it is for each person. We've all had our life challenges. It's amazing when you go, with hindsight, of course, you can look back and go, well, I got through that and look where I am now. And if I hadn't had those gnarly challenges in their moment, those uncomfortable confrontations, maybe XYZ wouldn't have happened, because actually it was that led to that led to that led to some beautiful things in my life. And so turning adversity into positivity, because actually for me personally, and I can feel it transmitting off the screen from you too, these health challenges have been so uncomfortable for us, so challenging, so unbearably painful. They've taken us to a place of acute fear of death, confronting death, looking it in the eye and going, okay, well, that is my destiny. So why worry about it in this moment? Why not feel the soil in my hands? Why not appreciate the breeze? Why not celebrate another opportunity to be on planet Earth?
Guest visitor now.
And you know, we are so lucky. We're so lucky to be in a position to embrace an opportunity to do something different, because you know, you die once, you live every single day. Well, why not live every single day doing things that might be uncomfortable in their moment, but that might be building muscles that are going to be part of your future self. And your future self can be a much stronger, wiser, manifesting much greater opportunities for yourself by the nature of freeing your heart to possibilities, putting it out there, bringing people from your past back in your life, embracing new wisdom, embracing new health disciplines that actually, when you start changing your diet, I feel better. Meditating, breathing, I feel lighter. Oh my goodness, my intuition is so crazy right now. I can think of somebody and they're calling me. Oh my gosh, all that work I've been trying to do behind the scenes to make money is suddenly manifesting in a way that I haven't completely.
It all comes together. It all comes together. But I do want to honor, you know, there are those days when it's all just too much and it's hard, and it's okay. You know, it's okay to just sit with it and feel sorry for yourself and rest and be sick and be miserable. It's okay, you know, like that's okay. But then we are alive and we have huge power within us, you know, and I think I have a very strong gratitude practice. It's just one of my character strengths is gratitude. And getting sick in the beginning of COVID when everyone was dying, you know, so many people were dying. I felt so privileged to be alive and to be able to do something to make my life my best life, you know? So the small practice of just daily looking around you and saying, okay, what am I grateful for? And it doesn't have to be, you know, doesn't have to be anything huge. Like, I'm grateful for the way the sunlight comes into my kitchen in the morning, you know. I'm grateful for my cup of coffee, you know. I'm grateful for my cat coming to say hello in the morning, you know. And just these, I think, small little injections of positivity, you know. There's shitloads going wrong and bad, and you know, but there's also a lot of good, you know, and just these little reminders, like taking the moment to pause and thinking, wow, you know, that's beautiful. I'm grateful to be in this warm home when it's cold outside, you know, like just taking these small positive things and you know, saving them in your heart. I think that's something that is very helpful for me.
It's
That's
yeah.
put people in touch with, you know.
It's the whole mission of Triple G: gratitude, grit, and grace. And I feel like the gratitude is first, because when you come from a place of being grateful for just your heart beating and the small things, as you say, they don't have to be big things, just being alive, breathing, just being allowed to breathe and feel, and the simple connection with what is greater than us, whatever it is for you, whatever name you want to give to the mystery. And then the grit of persevering in a process that can sometimes be uncomfortable, like you say. Sometimes you collapse. I know I had those days where I'd be crying my eyes out, but there was something about the tears that felt healing rather than healing rather than, that's my phone going off, my husband trying to contact me from Los Angeles because we've been apart for a year. But you know, it's like just feeling that grit, that we have that capability to power through such difficult things. And then the grace, that is the healing process that happens when you're given over. You take the steps, and then it's out of your hands, and magic does really happen. So Natascha, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today. This will be the first of many, I am sure, but I'll leave the details.
We haven't even scratched the surface yet, it feels
I know. So this is just the beginning. Thank you so much to Natascha Demner, and we will be back very soon.